Teachers, what's the weirdest thing you've had to take away from a student? Ziploc bags filled with water. That was a trend for a while at my school. Kids would claim they needed it in case they got thirsty, but usually would just try to pop them in each other's laps during class. An uncooked chicken breast. Actually, 2 uncooked, boneless chicken breasts. The student had one in each pocket. Had to take a computer away from a kid because he had 2 Google tabs, search and images, open with the search naked nude Pokemon porn in class. Taking a computer away isn't super weird, but that reason has stuck with me for a while. A wine cooler that looked like a Capri Sun. This was a second grader and she was just getting ready to drink it. First thing that came to mind, a drawing of a peanut. One kid said he had a peanut allergy, so a boy drew a peanut on a piece of paper, and started shoving it in the other boy's face and being a general DK with it. A homemade shiv. His dad has just gotten out of jail and given it to him, so he brought it to school. I teach kindergarten, BTW. Chef's knife stuffed in the waistband of his sweatpants, no underwear, during a snowstorm. My sister's teacher had to call my dad about a suspicious powder my sister was eating out of a bag at school. She was dipping her finger in a bag of powdered jello and eating it and letting other kids do the same. There was a boy in my 7th grade class that wasn't allowed to have coins because he'd eat them. A can of Cheese Whiz. It was from a student visiting from another country, and she was enamored of the incredible canned cheese product she had discovered. So much so, she kept either opening her backpack to stare lovingly at it or taking it out during class to get some sweet cheesy goodness. It was pretty cute actually, and I made sure she got her cheese product returned to her at the end of class. Man, did she love Cheese Whiz. Christmas ornaments. They were throwing them at each other and it eventually caused a fight. Next to that would be a curtain rod. He found it and kept hitting people with it. A giant head of lettuce that just suddenly appeared on his desk. Where did he get it? A girl had about 50 plastic spoons in her pocket. She tripped and they all fell out. We all found it hilarious, but a high-up teacher was walking by and made her pick them up. She was going to anyway, and put them all in the bin. Was probably very confused over the whole situation. Panties. They had fallen out of a girl's gym bag in the previous class. When I came in the room after standing duty in the hall, 3 boys were flinging them back and forth across the room. Never a dull moment. A whole salami. Kid kept walking over to his backpack and sticking his face in to take secret bites without me noticing. I noticed. An entire menagerie of live insects. One afternoon my class decided that they should see how many bugs they could capture and keep alive in my classroom. The next day, I returned from covering lunch duty in another part of the school and noticed that one of the cubbies had paper towel taped over the front like a curtain. Before I could investigate, I noticed several Tupperware containers hiding in desks. Dozens of worms. That was the cubby. Many assorted beetles, uncounted ants, 4 bees, a wasp, and, most upsetting, several flies which were crazy glued to index cards and had their wings removed. That was a long day and a long year. Instant pudding. My student was mixing it in a large Cool Whip container, using milk from lunch, right in the middle of a lesson on Macbeth. Not a teacher, but my wife is. Several years ago she was teaching 2nd or 4th grade and the kids were instructed to have their snack time. She stepped over to the door to talk to another teacher while the kids ate, and one student came over and tattled that another student had a snack he should not have. My wife scolded the tattler for tattling lol, but the kid was insistent. Wife decided to check, and the other kid had legit cracked open a Bud Light Lime-A-Rita for snack time. Not a teacher, but in 3rd grade the teacher had to confiscate all the origami cranes in the room because one kid decided to make and sell them at $0.25 apiece. He got caught when he started selling on the playground. I thought it was f***ed up. We had to give up all the paper cranes in our desks, but we didn't get our quarters back. I named mine Swan and was very sad to see her go. Most people wouldn't believe me, as I'm Canadian, but I once found a working, but unloaded AK-47 behind a dumpster while on my way to school. Carried it upside down, to school. Gave it to the security guard, who was like, WTF. Police came a few hours later to ask me to show them where I found it. Turns out there was a fucking murder there a few days ago and they were looking for the gun. Not quite taken from me by teacher, but still Basically brought a fucking used AK-47 murder weapon to school, while like 10. Because why not? This kid had a backpack full of baby rabbits. He found them in the field on the way to school. They were so tiny and vulnerable. We both cried. Not a teacher, but our vice principal had to confiscate a lobster from us after we bought it as a birthday gift for a friend. For those asking, it was a live lobster. We wrapped it in a box with some holes poked in it. When we presented it to him during first break, he just heard something scratching inside it and asked, WTF is this? Handcuffs. From an 8-year-old girl. Not quite police grade, but more than just some adult fun cuffs. Sent that down to the counselor. This is my brother's story, and he was the kid. It was a sandwich bag full of spiders. He collected them during recess, and one of the monitors probably got freaked out. A kid brought blue Gatorade in a Windex bottle to lunch on April Fool's Day, and we had to take it so younger kids wouldn't think it was real. Thank you so much for the awards and upvotes. I never expected this. Not a teacher but a friend of a teacher. A letter to his other friend about how he once masturbated in class. They are extremely awkward now. A can of deodorant. You're probably thinking, hey, that's not that weird, except that the two kids were using it by spraying it on the back of the other and then setting fire to the thing in the middle of the class. They didn't see any problem with it because it only stays lit for a few seconds. During my student teaching, I had to utter a sentence I never imagined, which was, guys, what did I say about looking up satanic rituals during class? They were a great group, though. It was a group of 4 8th graders who said they had created an occult detective agency and were doing research just in case. My only complaint was that they were doing it in science class instead of actually doing their work. Eyeballs. I worked with a blind student with autism. When he would get angry, he would pop out his glass eyeballs and throw them across the room. They were expensive, so Mom asked that we put them in a plastic bag in his backpack if he threw them. No more eyeballs for you today. See no evil monkey. Tampons. From 6th grade boys. They liked to unwrap, throw, and yell mouse. The girls were like, WTF? Them. They found out what they were for in health class. They started adding ketchup. Had to institute a tampon check at the door. For the boys. The girls' room got a Bible-full basket of tampons once they got over the idiocy. I did a brief stint as a supply teacher in my early 20s. One day I was at a school I'd never been to before, and there was a group of lads gathered round a table at the back of the room, generally not paying much attention to the lesson. I went to investigate and found they were working on a full-blown diagram of how a male might go about sucking himself off. I confiscated it for research purposes. A small trinket box, about palm-sized, decorated with gems and glitter, with a live mouse inside. The mouse was named Jimmy and had been caught in the child's house. I'm not a teacher, but I taught my friend in 8th grade how to make pipe cleaner caterpillars. Since our school was discarding hundreds of bags of pipe cleaners, she found them all, put them in her backpack, and made these caterpillars. The only thing is, she made around 1,000 of them until our teacher realized. The teacher tossed them in the garbage, but they just changed it, so while the teacher wasn't looking, she grabbed them all and put them back in her desk. Not the teacher, but I had a kid in class that would collect used chewing gums from under the table and form them to a giant gross ball. During the lesson he would suck and chew on it and roll it all over the desk. My teacher had enough of it and threw the thing in the trash, and the kid cried. After the lesson the kid got it out of the trash and chewed on it. Not a teacher, but my 3rd grade teacher had to confiscate a dead rat from a kid in my class. I, to this day, have no idea where the kid got it from. Not a teacher, but my brother was once asked to return his history teacher's beans, which he had stolen from one of the drawers of said teacher's desk. A doll's leg. Me. Why do you have a doll's leg? Student. Why wouldn't I have a doll's leg? Me. I teach in a rural school, and one year I had a very strange kid. He always had all these handmade contraptions that he'd pull out and mess with. One day he was messing with a ruler that had a plastic square attached to the top. It looked really sturdy. His waving it around was distracting me, so I took it away. He told me, "No, I need that. It's for kissing my sister." Obligatory. Not a teacher, but if my teacher saw this, had surely be giving this as a response. I saw a meme online where somebody drained Windex out of the bottle and filled it with Gatorade. I decided to do this during class for a refreshing drink, and my teacher was not happy with that decision. He already thought I was a bit slow, but I think that confirmed it for him. Not a teacher, but when I was in high school I was responsible for many students having cans or bags of beans confiscated. Me and some friends created a holiday called Bean Day that was on March 10th, with the goal letting the students in on it and seeing if we could convince the teachers it was real. It consisted of throwing dried beans at each other, and seeing who could bring in the largest can of beans. We'd all place the cans in front of us on our desks as a display of pride. Anyway, I got enough people doing it that the teachers said it was a distraction and started confiscating any Bean Day related paraphernalia. Lamau. My teacher confiscated my cans of tomato puree. The small salted ones were like 5 cents each, so I bought a bunch of them. I was fucking around with them in class and the teacher took them from me. The teacher wrapped them in paper so they would stay together, but that made the head teacher, that I was sent to, think that I was like packaging cans of tomato puree in class for fun or something. After explaining myself, I got the cans back, but I couldn't have them around in class anymore. A plastic statue of the Virgin Mary with the face melted off. It was so bizarre, I kept it in my desk for many years. Not a teacher, but I had to watch my teacher patch a glory hole in her wall that my buddy carved over a few months. When I was in 5th grade, my teacher took an unused Kleenex away from me. To be fair, I was putting on a small one-man show, to myself, at my desk, where the Kleenex was a small ghost. Maybe I may have been being slightly distracting to my classmates, although no one had complained when she walked up and snatched my ghost away. Another student's tooth that he had fished out of the trash can that he was going to add to his tooth collection. Every single sticker I had ever given him stuck on top of each other to form a ball. A real gun I thought was fake, luckily unloaded. More scary than weird, but not a teacher, but it was a real rabbit.